I'm a pretty fair bullshit artist, but I don't know that I could talk my way out of any kind of encounter with law enforcement, you know what I mean?
You're just a nerdy fella that works on computers. But what you're doing is gonna kill you.
Do you ever account for the things I'm good at?
Wondering, are there any kind of hobbies and crafts that in an emergency either of you could use to get out of situations, but you might be an amateur skill-wise?
Well, you know, I'm a pretty fair bullshit artist, but I don't know that I could talk my way out of any kind of encounter with law enforcement, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think you could. I think you could. Yeah.
No, with them you gotta tell the truth.
You have to tell the truth. Yeah, straight from the beginning.
You gotta just tell them the truth.
How about yourself, Rami?
I'm always looking at different objects and thinking, what is the other way to use them? So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's a proper spy thing there.
I think so.
Okay.
I think that
Little
comes-
MacGyver?
Little
kind of thing?
MacGyver, yeah.
Okay.
I think that's from the rabbit ears on the television set, you know, having the aluminum foil, aluminium.
Oh, right. Yeah, right.
Stretching that out. It was like, oh, what else can we do?
I could play a tin whistle and just scare some people away. I don't know. I don't know that I have any special skills that could be used in any meaningful way at all.
You filmed as well. I know obviously it doubled for Istanbul, but you filmed in Marseille for this. Is there just something you can't replicate about being on set, being on location compared to being on set? Because it's a beautiful location in the film.
It's so gorgeous. And I think like every time that you get to, as an actor, be in a location that sort of has a special feeling. I mean, where Rami and I did the scenes of Inquiline's house, it was just the coolest little fishing village. But it feels so isolated and so remote. Like we had to go down a dirt track road for ages, and we had that whole coop full of guinea fowl there. And it felt like somewhere that somebody would go to disappear.
Yeah.
And it's so, you walk into a set like that and you kind of spend 10 minutes and you're like, okay, I can understand how somebody could survive in this place and feel safe enough and yet be completely outside of society. So all of that stuff really informs you, and I hope that we keep getting to shoot on location and that people don't, put things on green screens.
Yes, not the same. How about the guinea fowl? Did they behave themselves on set? Because they
They
say
were
don't watch
actually-
with
they were
animals
quite
as children.
Yeah, they behaved themselves. They're very beautiful. I don't think I'd ever seen them in person before. Slightly smelly, but, very
There was
beautiful.
a lot of them, to be fair.
There was a lot of them.
Yes, just one of them. And it feels like this comes after the spy thrillers had a bit of a resurgence. You had Slow Horses, obviously, your director directed the first season of this one, and then also Black Bag, all those kind of ones. What do you think it is about these kind of films that make them timeless to audiences?
Well, I don't know. I think, when things are chaotic in the world, maybe we want to feel like there's some kind of order, that somebody knows what's happening underneath it all. I think it's that. I think as people, we sort of want to believe that there are sort of these people who can fight for justice or who can sort of somehow navigate their way through the systems, and, maybe that makes us feel a bit safer.
I think it's, it's the nature of spycraft to be involved in secrets and lies, right? It's like, you show this face, but really this is going on. And I mean, that's just human nature. We're curious about that, how we keep secrets and, how we reveal secrets, and how we protect our communities and how we defend ourselves from enemies and all that kind of great stuff. I mean, it's fraught with drama.
Yeah, I think people like thinking they're smart as well. So they're like, I've
That's
worked
right.
out before that film comes out and stuff like
Right.
that. And I felt like the relationship between Henderson and Heller, that's unpredictable as well. You never quite know who's on what side or what Henderson's going to do particularly. How fun was that to build up that ambiguity between the two of you on set?
It was right there on the page from the beginning. And I think we're both the kind of actors who try to be unpredictable in terms of what we're going to be playing and which directions our characters are going to go. So it was just a beautiful fit for us as actors and these characters, it's a thing that happens sometimes where the right actors and the right characters come together, and I feel like that's the case with this.
Yeah, perfect alchemy in this situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It must have felt a little bit familiar as well, Rami, though, with Mr. Robot bringing back all that looking at screens and hacking and stuff. Did it just come back to you to pretend to be able to do all that stuff?
Yeah, well, it did. A lot of it, the paranoia came back of knowing, of knowing what the government's capable of doing, and so those moments were fun to play when you're going into an office and presenting the truth, the power. I thought that's a character I always want to see more of, and then to take that on, exponentially larger level with the scope that this film offers. It's special to see someone go from behind, 5 floors below the CIA throw him in, thrust into the most extraordinary circumstances with this man in a unique position of never knowing exactly where you stand with him. There's that threat. There's a level of threat that's so exciting in this film.
Working with Rami on this, because it's such a different kind of spy thriller in terms of they live up to the amateur name. How was it building that connection? Because it's mostly through screen and then it becomes in person. How was it building that?
Yeah, I mean, look, it was great. I've known Rami sort of just socially for about a decade, so I was thrilled to get the opportunity to work with him, but that sort of helped anyway, that we had somewhat of a connection before we started. And then, we were lucky we got to have we had a day off in Marseilles, and we were like, hey, let's just get together and go through the scenes and sort of talk about it, and how can we build in little moments where they just have this ability to, even though they don't really know each other, there's that shared understanding of loss, and how can they connect through that. And so he's amazing. I mean, he's such an incredible actor, obviously. And he's got such a vulnerability and such a presence, and so when you're in scenes with him, he's so there, and it was just nice to sort of find those quick things that sort of gave it that history, even though the history was sort of veiled. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I know obviously you can't say a single thing about Outlander the final season, but has it sunk in now because that film is finished? Has it sunk in that because it's a huge part of your life that it's nearly this at the end, or do you think that'll come when you're in these hotel rooms again chatting the final season?
I'm sure there'll be another level of the kind of saying goodbye, the grief of that. It's been interesting. I've taken some time off. We finished shooting in the end of October. And it was such a draining season anyway, and very heightened emotionally, just because we all knew it was going to be the last season. And I have a young son, so I was like, I just need to take some time. And through that, you do go through the whole thing, and there's a sort of a process of
stages of grief.
Yeah, there is in a weird way. And I've sort of I saw Sophie the other day, I saw Izzy the other day, I see John Bell. Sam's traveling the world, so we text a lot, but it's always going to be a weird sort of missing part of my life, because it took up such a huge part of my life, but it's also going to be one of the greatest things I've ever done. So Claire's very much a part of me, she always will be, and I have my family that I've taken from Outlander and will keep with me for the rest of the time as well.